It has become common knowledge that professional wrestling is absolutely exploding in popularity around the country. That explosion has hit Portland, although pro wrestling has always been popular in the Rose City. In fact, at 20 years, it's the longest-running television program in the Portland market. And since this is Portland's 60th anniversary of pro wrestling, we thought we'd take a close-up look. Here's Steve Wick.
It has always seemed more like show business than sport, so it only seems appropriate when Hollywood jumped on the bandwagon, pro wrestling would become the latest fad.
But now, since Hollywood is getting involved again, like Mr. T and people that are announcing the matches, yes, and all that good stuff, we're starting to pay attention to it again.
Some of that attention has focused on the age-old question, is it for real?
I think this is fake.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake?
Hey, I'll be honest with you. I would have done the same thing, but then I would have kicked him in the head. I mean, that's just me.
Well, anytime you knock wrestling, you can knock us all day long. What you do, you put us in the public eye. Any news is good news as long as it's in the paper or on television. Any news, bad, good, and different.
Even without the surge of national attention, wrestling has always had a loyal backing, almost like a cult following. But it seems to be growing. Last year in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mid-South Wrestling outdrew the NBA playoffs in the rating. In Memphis, wrestling is the third highest rated show, trailing only Dallas and Dynasty. It celebrates its 60th year in the Rose City this month. Some of the biggest names in the business have strutted their stuff at the old Portland Armory and Sports Arena. They've either retired or moved on to the big time, but the people who supported them are still there, and a new legion of fans starts up a new following each year.
Oh, it's just something to do. Yeah.
What do you like about it? What's so exciting about wrestling?
The man.
The man, all right, I like it.
I take my frustrations out in watching the meanies get beat up.
They're probably the most loyal fans in sports. Just like in the movies, the good guys have their fans and the bad guys have theirs. But the wrestlers aren't on the big screen, they're real.
They see more of us on TV, they see more of us in their living room, in their comfortable environment of their home, so they know us better.
Tomorrow, the wrestler's story, a look behind the facade.
I love this. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't enjoy it. I like going out there. I like hurting people. I like beating people. I like making money. I like spending a lot of money. You know what I'm trying to say?
Steve Wick, Channel 2 Sports.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Got the message. Got to be real nice to those guys when you interview them.
Yes. Lords of the Ring. Tonight, a close-up look at those who make the whole thing work, the wrestlers. Here's Steve Wick.
When I go in that ring, I am every mother's son. That's exactly what I am.
I wanted to get into the business as everybody else does, I guess. Every young man's dream.
It's a career that seems like a dream, unreal, a nightmare to the severest critics. But in a few years, Mean Mike Miller might reflect on his dream career the way Dutch Savage does.
I had to do it all over again. I never would. Because with all that prestige and notoriety I received through my career, I told thousands of people with that and 50 cents you can get a cup of coffee at a cheap restaurant.
But Savage won't knock the business. He says it was good to him. If anything has changed since Savage was a top draw, it's the condition of the wrestlers.
I can assure you, 9 out of 10 times that professional wrestler will beat any athlete you bring in the ring.
Anybody, you know, who thinks that we aren't athletes, all I can say is just sign a contract and get in the ring with me. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but that's how I answer that question, sir.
Billy Jack Haynes is the latest idol of the Portland wrestling faithful. His is a hectic schedule. 6 or 7 days a week he wrestles, traveling 2,000 miles some weeks. The rest of the time, Billy spends getting in better shape than the competition.
I'm in the gym probably 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I'll run stairs and run 1 mile 3 days a week. So I mean, I keep myself in really good shape, plus the wrestling every night, and You got to psych yourself up and down like a yo-yo all the time, but I mean, you got to be in fantastic shape.
He doesn't play to a crowd as much as the others. For Billy Jack, pro wrestling is a job, a highly visible one that allows him to perform in front of his crippled father.
I got in it. It just brought my entire family closer than anything in this world. So I owe professional wrestling everything. Dad, you know, I love you. He knows I love him and everything, and my whole entire family. Wrestling has done it.
It's a lucrative business for a wrestler who's a proven drawing card. When it comes to drawing cards, wrestling doesn't take a back seat to anybody.
Muhammad Ali finally picked up on wrestling, the way we do our interviews. That's where our hype is. It's on the interview. They finally learned that in boxing. Look what happened in boxing. It blew up.
The name of the game is money. Money. That is the root of all evil, as they say. What makes the world go round. It's also what makes me perform. Probably 200, 250 times a year. I could retire now. And that's being perfectly honest, and that's all hype aside. My banker knows me by my first name.
To make it big, well, it takes more than a big mouth and a lot of muscles.
I'm not somebody you can predict. I'm not somebody you say, hey, this guy, well, he's going to do such and such. You can't do it. You can't ever tell when I might snap.
In our final part tomorrow on Sports Week, Portland celebrates 60 years of pro wrestling with a big bash at the Coliseum. Steve Wick, Channel 2 Sports.
Oh, and tomorrow's story's a good one, so tune in at 7 o'clock.
Every young boy's dream.
That's what I dreamt to be when I was a young... What about you, Richard?
Your hair's all wrong, Steve.